Hey everyone, I'm glad that you have made it to today's um, Powerhouse Video Summit 2014. As you know, I have my sweet friend Suzanne with me, and if you're on the chat room, hi to you. Everything should be working on there now. I think I have everything figured out now, so I really appreciate you, your tenacity in being here, and your I talked about earlier about having a seed intention, and man, if you stuck around for that the second half hour, I know that you have a real, true, sweet intention to connect to your authenticity and to really bring about the right community for you. So I want to introduce to you my friend who's right here. Can you see her? There she is. Hi.
Hi, Asha. Great to see you this morning.
You too. You too. We have like similar colors on too, actually.
We do. I noticed that too.
Just to let you know, you don't have your little preset on.
Oh,
So if you want to just click on that, there you go. It's there.
it's there. I'll leave it alone
it's there.
now.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
All right. So now I'm going to be monitoring the chat a little bit better than I did last time because I had, for the first half hour there was no sound, and luckily the first half hour I wasn't really going into content. I was just talking about the schedule, but now we're here, we're live, there's sound, we have a working chat room. I see that the video's working. It is all good. It's all good.
All right, very good.
I'm psyched to have you here, and I want you to, well, first of all, I got your book, and your book is a work of art. I mean, it is really, really beautiful. It is, I can't tell you how impressed. I mean, I think impressed is the right word. I was so impressed with the beauty of it, the ease of how you use it, and I'm so glad that I have the book, and that I mean, I know you and I chatted, and we've known each other for a long time, and I know the work that you're doing, but to really see the work actualized in print, and to see how easily and beautifully you walk people through this process was really remarkable, and it just really kind of grounded my excitement in having you here. So
thank you so much. It was really a joy to write. It's a book that I thought would only take me 2 months to write, and it ended up taking me 7 years, and it's just simply because every time I thought I was about finished, a new whole piece would come in, and the work just became deeper and richer, and I'm just I'm in love with the work too. I have to say, not kudos to me, but just the fact that this is a message that's coming through now to a lot of us, and it's just simply time. So the time is right to be talking about it, and I so appreciate being here today.
You know, and I was talking earlier about how so many of us have really focused on expanding our heart, expanding our connection. I think, oh, do you hear an echo?
I do not hear an echo.
Oh, okay. I do. I don't know why. So many of us have focused on expanding our heart, expanding our intuitive nature and our connection to the divine, but few of us have, or as a collective, we haven't focused on really grounding who we are. I'm going to fix the audio over here. Could be me, another spot. Really grounding who we are. And I think your work really provides this blueprint to be able to access our womb energy from a more intimate level. And do let me know if you hear the echo, because I still hear the echo.
What I don't hear the echo, but from what I see, the audio is off a little bit from the or the video is off from the audio a little bit. So that may be causing something there. I'm not sure what we can do about that.
Okay. Okay. So it's just on your end.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. When we move on.
Do you want to I don't know, stop and start over or anything so that the audio, so that the sound sounds okay? It sounds okay to me, but I'm not sure what it sounds like to anybody else.
Okay. Well, you know what? People have been very vocal on the chat room, so hopefully they will mention if anything doesn't sound good.
Okay.
So tell me, I think the beginning of telling us how to use our own cycle to be able to track our energy and be able to track how and when and what resources to utilize each of the weeks, and how that sort of correlates with, you know, being authentic and living in that authenticity.
Well, what I ended up discovering is that our cycle, our female cycle, which is really just a blueprint for a navigational system that really is the core power of being female. Anyway, that's what I've discovered. It's the missing link, as far as I'm concerned, to our empowerment. Because, you know, we have women, we have come such a long way. We have women in CEO positions. We have women as surgeons now. We didn't have that when I was a little kid. You know, we've come a long way in a short amount of time, even though it's been an awfully long time coming. But we still haven't gotten to the place where women are safe in the world, where we are really in our true empowerment and have equal respect. And I think this is the missing link, because this cycle of ours is something that when we are reproductive women, we do over 40 years of our lives. However, again, I call this just the blueprint that shows us exactly what this navigational system is. It's something that we actually have from the time we're born until the time we die. It doesn't leave us. This is what makes us female, and it's where our core power is. It's not a weak thing. It's not a negative thing. It's an awesome thing. It's this amazing way of being in alignment with this natural rhythm, and it's not something that we've learned how to do. We've not learned that this is a natural rhythm and something to be in alignment with. During our reproductive years, this female cycle, we've divided it out into a period or PMS or something that's really negative and nothing but derogatory terms thrown around with it. We can't get someone into the presidency because she may be too emotional, or you know, she may just, it may just be that time of the month or something. I mean, this is just crazy stuff. This is just absolutely crazy stuff. What we have here is a natural rhythm of the universe that is no different than any other natural rhythm of the universe. And so what I really ended up discovering is that there are 4 phases that make it very easy for us to identify and get in sync with and in alignment with. And when we get in alignment with these 4 phases, we understand how to take care of ourselves in a much better way. So shall I go ahead and talk about those 4 phases?
Yeah, I think that if, you know, I think that the biggest question is, so there's these 4 phases that you have, and one thing that I want to, because I was telling a girlfriend about this, and she says, well, I actually haven't been, you know, menstruating for, you know, a couple of years. And so what, you know, what happens then? And so I want you to speak to what happens pre-menstruating and post, and then enter into what, you know, what are those 4 steps?
Okay. So what happens is that let's talk about the 4 phases first, and then I'll go back into the pre and go into the post. How about that?
Okay.
These 4 phases. Well, let's just talk about from the time we're born. As girls, I call these. I say that we have 3 tribes of women, and that's it throughout our lifetime. We have, and we all belong to one of them right now. And if we get to be old enough, we will have belonged to all 3 tribes at some point. And so our first tribe are the pre-bloods. These are our girls. And what happens is that from the time they're born, they start, rumbling and moving into finding this rhythm. It's something that happens right away. And I believe that we could start tracking our girls' energy at around, let's just say 5 years old. We could start tracking at the new moon. Because as women, we used to cycle with the moon. And now that we have artificial lighting, that's gotten in the way of that. But they are able to recreate that moon rhythm, that moonlight in a laboratory setting now. And so we're able to see that's true. So if we started tracking on the new moon, if we started tracking our girls' physical energy, nothing but their physical energy, I believe that these girls would begin to start understanding that they're rhythmic, they're lunar rhythmic beings, and they would start seeing a pattern there. We would begin to start seeing a pattern develop. And by the time they hit adolescence and all of these other energies come in, it wouldn't be such a foreign idea to them that they are rhythmic beings. The second group I call the blood givers, and these are our reproductive women. These are the women that are bleeding and are of reproductive age. The third tribe would be the blood keepers, because these are our postmenopausal women, women who have had hysterectomies, and then forced into menopause. And these are the women who no longer bleed. They're no longer reproductive, but they are certainly productive. They are productive in creating communities. They are really good at this rhythm now. Their body has been doing it for a really long time. And so we definitely do not stop being rhythmic. We do not stop being women. We don't turn into men. We don't turn into some other archetype. We are women that just simply go through different phases of this lunar rhythm, but we're still rhythmic beings. If postmenopausal women begin tracking at the new moon and track all the way through, they'll see that they still have this same rhythmic set of energies. And I have had so many postmenopausal women, the blood keepers, write to me and say, this is just crazy accurate. And it's just really kind of amazing that I had an 80-year-old friend write to me and said, I knew it. I knew I was still rhythmic. I knew it all along, and now I'm going to pay more attention. But let's go into the 4 phases so that everyone knows what we're talking about exactly. What we've got is that pretty much every rhythm in the universe has a resting phase, a building phase, an expression phase, and a deconstructing phase, and back to rest. And we are no different. So our first week when we're on our periods, that would be the resting phase. And that's because our hormones are laying low at this point. If you just look at a hormonal chart, you'll see that this is when our hormones are laying low. And that tells us that we need to lay low. We need to rest at this time. The second phase is a building phase. What happens with our hormones is that basically, I mean, in a real basic way, our estrogen goes from 0 to 100. We go from resting to all the way to its peak, all in 1 week. That's a building phase. We're building relationships. We're building attraction. We're trying to attract a mate primally. That's what this engine, this primal engine of ours is trying to do.
And do you feel that when we're in this place of attracting, that it has, I mean, you're talking about it in a more primal setting in terms of like attracting a mate, or attracting the process of new life, but do you feel like it's also related to attracting, manifesting, if you will, really tapping into that energy?
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, because, you know, not all of us, I mean, we're doing all of these things at once. This particular week, we're attracting people to, we're building our businesses, and we're attracting clients. This is the time to manifest. That first week, that resting week, what happens in there, I mean, we can get into a lot of layers. There's the basic aspect of it, and then it can go really deep. But what happens for sure, if we're getting the rest, is that this is when the visionary comes in. I have 12 different archetypes throughout this book, through 3 per phase, because, you know, it's a moving, you know, we're adjusting a little bit every day, just like the moon does. And what happens is the visionary comes in at this point in that first phase. This is our planning phase. This is our time that the great ideas are coming in. So during this second week, now it's time to implement those ideas. And so we're implementing, we're building our friendships, our relationships, we're building our businesses, we're manifesting, and we're attracting those to, and as we go through this cycle more and more, we begin to attract those that support our authenticity. We no longer try to attract those that do not serve us well, and we want to only start making relationships with those people and those energies in a way that are good for us, that are part of what will really bring out our best. But that's just the second week. Yeah, that's the second week.
So, question on that first week. You know, I know that for myself, I really go into kind of taking care of myself mode, and, you know, even if I have, you know, commitments, I follow through with the commitment, but I make sure that I have that time where I'm taking care of myself. In terms of, like, the manifesting process, would you say that that first week has a lot to do with, like, clarifying maybe what the intention is, or would you tell me what you think about that?
Well, the first week, I find what happens is that first and foremost, the rest has to happen. We're not sick. When a woman's on her period, she's not sick. I mean, you know, it's not a disease, nothing like that. Right. However, what happens is that, you know, we can go to work, we can take care of the kids, we can run the marathon if that's what we're scheduled to do. But the idea is that we're mindful, and we're mindful about not doing that extra errand. We're mindful about not extending ourselves beyond what we even think we can do in the moment. Sometimes we get a second wind and we think we can go do it anyway. Not a good idea. We have to go home and rest. It's not a good time to go out for pizza and beer or whatever with everybody after the event. We need to go home. We need to say, no, I need to take care of myself. We need to tell our families that this is the time that I need to rest. And we're really making that clear to our partners, to our children, whoever might be around, that this is an important time to rest, because when we don't rest at this point, it's no different than not sleeping at night. And we might be able to get through one night of not sleeping because there was, you know, it was New Year's Eve or something, or some great party. But if we miss a second night of sleep, you know, we're trashed. And what is happening is that women are not resting, and women need to take this particular time to rest. And again, make that known, that they're not being lazy, that they're not you know, being irresponsible. This is being responsible in taking care of ourselves. And when we get that rest in, that's when the clarity comes. So when that clarity comes, it is the ideas come in, the plans come in. The body needs to rest. It's doing a radical thing here in the womb, but for sure, the mind, it becomes very active, and it's very much in the planning stage, the clarity stage, the visionary stage, and it's very exciting because it's really coming from a place of core creation.
So would you say, so it sounds like there's a transition place from that first week to the second week.
Yes.
And would you say then, if women really pay attention to that, taking care, that real nurturing of the self, that the ideas. It's not so much putting effort out into, I need some clarity, or, you know, this cycle for me, I need clarity, and I'm going to go and really kind of exerting ourselves. It's more that as we relax, things or ideas or you know, those light bulb moments just come naturally. And if we don't rest, it affects the rest of the cycle. Am I following you?
Absolutely. It's a time to allow. It's a time to allow this information to come in. There's no exertion about it. It's sort of exhilarating. And I would say that this is one of the biggest pieces of the sacred feminine energy coming in, is that in this particular phase, I mean, we have all kinds of, you know, all kinds of energy throughout the different phases, but through this phase, one of the things that we can teach the world is to sort of stop and allow information to come in. Stop and listen to other people. Stop and simply expand your mind into letting more information, more ideas, more creativity to come in, rather than always trying to control everything. So this is the time that we allow the abundance to come in and feel the joy. It's very exciting. It's very exciting.
I love that. You know, I think I don't know. I think you're onto something here, because so many people have been talking about allowing. I just don't know that we necessarily, you know, I think we're a little bit confused as to how to allow, and maybe there's actually a right time to allow and a right time to be active. And I think that that's what you're talking about as we move into the second week, that it becomes more about outward movement rather than inward. Is that right?
That's exactly right on. I mean, what this navigational system of ours really directs us to do is to have internal time and to have external time, to have quieter time and to have active time. You know, in one way we've talked about masculine energy being so active. Well, you know, I mean, we as feminine energy is both allowing and it's active, and it is a particular time. Okay, let's look at it this way. I do call this book 4 Seasons in 4 Weeks for a reason, because each phase has characteristics that identify with the seasons or the moon phases. But for example, if we're in the middle of winter and we don't know to put on a winter coat, and we go outside, we're just complaining that we're freezing, and we're not connecting with the fact that we need to go and put a coat on. It's sort of the same thing in these 4 phases that we've never really learned to do. And what this is directing us to do is, you know, when to put a coat on or not. And in this particular case, that first phase, instead of putting the coat on, the idea is to rest, relax, allow the information to come in. And then the second week, there is this fantastic transitional piece. And when you're tracking your cycle, I have women track, not for fertility, although that's a byproduct of it, but what I'm having them track is their energy, their physical energy, their sexual energy, their beauty cycle. There is a beauty cycle here. It's really kind of interesting. And their mental viewpoint cycle. And what happens, the transitional phase here is pretty exciting, because all of a sudden you feel that place from really just needing to rest to all of a sudden not needing to rest anymore, but act. And there's a moment, there's a day you sort of feel it. And in that second phase, we do go into action now, taking action on those visions.
And Suzanne, before you go there, there's this question in the chat room which, you know, I can relate to, because I have a pre-blood, as you call them, and it's Amy. Maybe you know her, and she says, love Suzanne's book. It's exactly what I needed during this time. What I'm very interested in is how to help my daughter to embrace her feminine power / menstrual cycle. She is pre-blood, 9 years old. I think she might be getting her period soon, since I have been noticing mood changes. I've been noticing that too in my house. And unfortunately, her friends are already telling her it's horrible. So what advice would you have for her with how to begin to have this conversation of honoring our cycle?
I think the most important thing, and if that's Amy Bammel, that's very exciting. Not sure. She's in Kentucky. Not sure if it's that Amy or not, but anyway, hi Amy, if so, and hello to the other Amy if not. I think the most important thing to tell our girls is that the truth is that we've not been told much. And what we're hearing now, all the negativity, is not the truth. We need to let them know that we are now reclaiming our lost culture and our language of the feminine now. And all of this negativity is born out of something that was really, I will just say, was stolen from us a long time ago. And this is a sad story that we have. This is not unlike the Native Americans losing their language and their culture, having it stolen from them. This is not unlike the Hawaiians having their language and their culture stolen from them. And I'm very serious about this. This is a sad, sad story that we have as women. And I think it's important for our girls to know the women's history here. That this is not something that to be taken lightly. This is something to be taken back and to reclaim. So when their friends are saying that it's something negative and something horrible, what our girls need to know, if we have any influence over them at all, is that yes, that's what we've been taught, and that's what the world thinks, and that's what most of society is going to tell us. But we're part of something that's really important right now. We are part of something that's very exciting. There's a whole movement of women taking back our power now, and what that means is actually understanding what this cycle of ours is, and it's very empowering and it's very exciting. And as your mother, I am going to continue to teach you this, because there's almost nothing more important. Right now, the shamans on our planet are telling us that it's time for the women to step forward with their medicine to heal the planet. And I believe that this is our medicine that we have to bring forward. This is something that we must reclaim. This is something that we need to understand. And when we understand it, we're in alignment with what it is that's so important for us to teach the world. And what we have to teach the world is to teach people how to be in rhythmic alignment with their authenticity, and so that we can create these healthy communities.
You know, I very much connect to what you're saying, and I really feel your enthusiasm and the power behind your words and the truth behind your words. And at the same time, I sort of have this dialogue of like, okay, let's be honest here. It is really tough in terms of, it's, you know, as having a pre-blood in my home, it's challenging to be around that energy. And I had once heard, and this really shifted things for me, and I once heard a girlfriend of mine say that some guy actually told her that he loved when his wife was in that premenstrual phase, because she was an oracle. And so, you know, we can tap into that power. We can shift and accept and reclaim our power, and at the same time, how do we manage such intense times during our cycle? Because it can be intense. Or do you think that the intensity comes from the shadow aspects of what as Eckhart Tolle says, our pain body? Do you think it's more related to that, or do you think it's the truth of just being in a female cycle?
Well, if we're talking about the phase 4, if we're talking about the 4th week, if we're talking about the week before the period, which used to be called PMS as far as I'm concerned. I know today mostly everybody still calls it that. I don't. I call it the fire walk, because this is the part of the cycle. Remember, the resting phase, the building phase, the expression phase, and the deconstructing phase. This is the deconstructing phase. What we have to understand here is this is I mean, I absolutely love this phase because it's a ceremonial time. I mean, it is a challenge, but it's a challenge that we can meet, and it's a challenge that we must meet because it's giving us so much information. Mm-hmm. And when we go through tracking our cycle month after month after month, pretty soon we're going to be very, very good at this fire walk, and it's not going to be as intense. Mm-hmm. It's intense now because we haven't known what to do with it. Yeah. It's almost like being out in the ocean. I compare our cycles as like this. We each have our own female ocean, but we haven't been taught that we're actually standing in an ocean. We've been taught to stand and look towards the shore. And what happens is all the waves come up and knock our feet out from under us, and we don't really know what's happening. So I ask women to turn around and face the waves. And when you start seeing the waves coming at you, you start seeing which way the swell is coming. If it's a small wave, you start stepping out into it. You start feeling the water. You start getting used to it. Pretty soon you start learning how to swim. Pretty soon you know what to do. And then as you get more used to it, you start figuring out what to do with each wave as it comes to you. Are you going to bounce over it? Are you going to dive under it and touch the bottom and let all the chaos go over you? Mm-hmm. Pretty soon you get good at it. And I mean, if you're out there in it every day and you start understanding it, and pretty soon you're out there surfing with the big girls. You know which surfboard to choose for those big waves. And so what happens here is that 4th week are some pretty big waves. And we have to learn how to manage that. But when we learn how to manage it, when we learn the beauty of it, pretty soon it becomes kind of a fun challenge. Mm-hmm. Because we start understanding that what is presented to us is actually a gift for us to take a look at. What's really going on with us? We're really in survival mode in this 4th week. We are absolutely in survival mode, and the reason is because we're shedding so much. Physically, hormonally, we're losing our feel-good drugs. We're losing our estrogen, our progesterone. Everything's dropping away because our body has realized that we're not pregnant. So we're shedding the drugs, the hormones that were there to protect a pregnancy. We're losing them. We're shedding this lining. So our bodies are breaking down literally. This is a radical thing that we need to honor. But what also happens is while all this shedding is going on, we're also hanging on to our values and principles. So stimulation coming in, we can't handle stimulation coming in because so much is trying to purge its way out. This is where we need support in our lives. And this is why I talk to the men in the book. If we're a woman who has a female partner, it's not quite as challenging because a female partner understands the vulnerability of this cycle because they're doing it themselves. But if we have a male partner, they don't really understand. And so I talk to the men a lot in this book. Because if they understand what's happening, they're able to be more successful in being supportive, and the woman feels more supportive in being able to have the space to be able to do this fire walk. There's a lot to this fire walk, and it's phenomenal. When women actually dive into that part first, and I find that they do, because this is the part that's so challenging, once they start getting the hang of that, then they start looking at the other phases and realizing that it's the whole cycle that affects this particular week. I can give you an example that, for instance, one of the solutions to this particular week is not in this week. The solution to the 4th week is actually in the 2nd week. Here's what happens. in the second week, we talked about that that's the time that we're building relationships, right? We're building relationships, we're manifesting all this kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, Asha, we love everybody. We love everything during that second week. We love it all, right? We just love it. We love life. We love everything that's going on. And here's what happens. Let's say, and I use this example all the time. Let's say somebody says, let's go to the lake. And you say, because you love everybody and you're in this phase, you say, I'll make sandwiches. I'll make sandwiches for everybody, you know. And so you're out there and you make 100 sandwiches. And not only make 100 sandwiches, but you pull together the the drinks and you organize everything. We're all set to go when you go to the lake and you have a great time. Well, what happens is that now, let's fast forward up to, let's say it's the fourth week, and somebody says, let's go to the lake. And Asha, will you make, Suzanne, will you make sandwiches? And it's like, no, gosh, can't you make sandwiches? Can't you all make your own sandwiches? I mean, the fourth week is when you think everybody's stupid. And the reason why you think everybody is stupid is because at this time you cannot handle any more stuff coming in. You've already taught everybody how to make sandwiches. Make your own sandwiches. Somebody else do it for a change. And so here's the thing. The idea is that the answer to the frustration in the fourth week isn't in the fourth week. It's when you're tracking and you come around to that second week and you love everybody. You're sexually intoxicated. You're just intoxicated with love and manifestation and building. And what has to happen is that's when you have to be mindful. This is, again, like putting your coat on to go out in winter. You put on your mindfulness and you say, I'm not going to overdo it. I'm not going to overpromise. I'm not going to make 100 sandwiches. I'm going to stop and think. I'm not going to give it all away. We have a tendency to give it all away in that second week, and we set ourselves up for a bad scene in the fourth week. There are lots of examples like this. This is what finding the balance is about throughout the whole thing. Lots of examples like this.
It almost sounds like the second week is where we, establish boundaries and set expectations for those in our lives. Does that sound right?
That sounds right. We need to really be mindful about what we're giving away here. And this gets into a lot of categories. This is where we get into danger if we go to a party. And let's say we don't have a partner, but we're feeling, we're really in that attraction mode. We have to be really careful about who we're allowing into our sacred temple, because we think that we've met this wonderful person. Well, maybe that's the right person and maybe it's not. This is a time that we need to understand that we're a little over the top. And that we just really need to understand. We need to be able to tell ourselves, I'm in the second week, I need to be careful. That's it. You wake up in the morning, you know where you're at, and you say, I'm in this second week, I may be loving everyone so much that I just need to be really kind of protective of myself a little bit. I need to just be careful. That's all. And just be a little bit more mindful.
So sounds like it's also about boundaries of self, right? Of really kind of tuning into almost like a planning phase in terms of like, okay, can I sustain this? Do I feel comfortable with the commitments that I'm making to others and to myself, and can I sustain this throughout my entire cycle? And maybe it's kind of a phase of playing a little bit with, like, when you're tracking and you say you're on week 2 and you're like making the 100 sandwiches, and then by week 4 you're like, I can't deal with anybody. Maybe it's like, well, maybe what actually makes sense is, as I'm tracking and really paying attention to how I'm spending my energy, to like, did you say to pace yourself, right? To pace yourself through your own energy.
Yeah, pacing is a good word. I didn't say that, but you're totally right on. That's the perfect way to put it. It's really, this whole cycle is about pacing yourself, and it takes many rounds of tracking. You know, it takes many months of tracking to really start seeing who you are, and it's so exhilarating when you start noticing these patterns, because it's so empowering to be able to say, I know where I'm at today, and I know how to compensate. Every day we compensate, but all of us compensate every day. When we get up in the morning, perhaps we need an extra little jolt, so we have some coffee. That's a little compensation. Or maybe we don't need coffee, but maybe later in the afternoon we compensate by having a little coffee. All of us, men and women alike, because we are all rhythmic beings, there are times when we need to compensate one way or another. We have these bodies that are natural balancers, but we need to learn how to use that balancing system to help us make it through. So pacing it is a good idea. We're very impulsive in that second week, and that's something that we need to know. So much of this cycle is about just understanding where we're at and compensating for that day, but also what happens today sort of prepares for tomorrow as well. It's really just about being mindful, and this is just one particular rhythm that's so important to women that we've just never learned about. But we've learned about other rhythms. We've learned about a 24-hour rhythm.
Yeah.
Sleep. We get up and we sleep, that's the resting phase. We get up in the morning, that's the building phase. We hit a peak at some point in the afternoon, that's the expression phase. And then we wind back down in the evening, that's the waning stage or the deconstructing phase. And then it's back to rest. I mean, we know how to do this otherwise. Just as women, this one's so powerful for us, and we've been told that it's negative, and we've been totally separated from it. Now it's time to get back into just understanding the rhythm of it.
And I know I took you a little bit off track with talking about week 4, but so can you just recap very quickly week 1 and 2, and then move into that week 3?
Sure. So week 1 is really the resting phase. It's the first day of the period. What I do is I take 28 days. You know, you may have a cycle of 32 days, something like that. I just take 28 days because that's what we talk about. It's an easy template. I take 28 days, I break it down into 4 guided weeks of 7 days each. Each woman is going to be unique and different. This just makes a very simple template, all right? So the first week is the period. That's the resting phase. That's when the visions come in. The second phase is the building phase, and that is when our estrogen and testosterone really is building. We're manifesting. We're attracting a partner. It's the week of romance. A book was written by Dr. Rebecca Booth called The Venus Week, all about this week. It's because we are literally growing more beautiful during this week. I mean, we are looking better. We are more beautiful because finally we're attracting mate. Yes, the Venus Week. So I call it the Venus Week. I take what she has created and continue with that. She's totally right on. This is the Venus Week. Okay, the second week. The third week, I start that with ovulation because it's the peak. It's like the full moon. Ovulation, I spend more time on ovulation than anything in this book, only because I received so much information about it. It's so phenomenal, ovulation. It is the most primal thing that that any human could possibly be. I mean, this is really, we are the human source of creation here, you know, ovulation. It is also the most spiritual thing that we can experience. So it's this earth spirit alignment that happens right at ovulation. It's just really remarkable. But we are also at our peak. I mean, we are so incredibly magnificent. I call this the goddess at this point because, you know, what does it look like when we see the full moon? You know, what do you feel? Every time I see the full moon, I'm just in awe. Every time, every single time. And that's what we are like on ovulation. We are like the magnificent full moon on ovulation. So we can go into lots of layers with that. That's just the first day because ovulation is, well, somewhere within a 24-hour period, basically. And then after that, though we still have the rest of week 3. And so what I call this is sort of, this is your wise woman world leader mode. Because what happens is your hormones are still hanging out, waiting to see if your body is pregnant in a primal sense. That's what's happening. It's waiting for the process to happen. To see if the body is pregnant. So in the meantime, we're sort of sitting high on our thrones, and we have time to reflect and look out over the world. This is a very balanced time. This is a time to really be having mind-to-mind talks. I say during that second week when we're in the romance mode, I tell couples to go on dates. This is your time to play, have fun, go on dates, and have heart-to-heart talks. You really express your love for each other. You have to rekindle things every single month. You court. In this third week, this is the time to have mind-to-mind talks. What's going on with our money? What's going on with the kids? Where are we living? All those things. If you don't have a partner, it's all still the same thing. Where am I working? How do I like my job? All of that. But this third week is very balanced. It's a really wonderful time.
So more like a reflecting week. So if you were to talk about, talk about a creation process, manifestation process, what have you. So first week would be rest, just really allowing. Second week is that's when the action can happen, really kind of getting clear and intentional about what we do and taking action. And that third week, say more.
Here, I'll give you an example. If you were planning a wedding, let's say, or some big party, the first week would be the ideas. The ideas are coming in. The second week, you start implementing. You start calling, you make all the phone calls, you start doing all the planning. Ovulation happens, that's party day. Party happens, right? The next day, what happens? Maybe you've had 10 people crash out at your house, and you all wake up in the morning, and you get some coffee, and you start talking about how the party went. And for the next few days, you're reflecting. It's very much the reflecting phase, exactly. You're talking about how did the party go? And you start looking back on what would you do differently next time? How would you plan it differently? You're looking back on that former time. So in our cycle, what we're really doing is we're reflecting back on those first couple of weeks. How have we been doing so far? If you're talking about the moon phases, it is in the reflective stage now. The full moon has happened, and now it's starting to go through the reflective phase. So everything after that is going to be the reflective phase. And the beauty of that particular third week is that you're in this prime place for just feeling very balanced. You're sitting high with your hormones. You have a chance to reflect and look out. And again, for our world community, this is where, we want to be active all the time, but this is where we're really knowing how to take action. This is the time that we really need to be paying attention to what we're actually thinking about and what we can do, because it's a very, very powerful time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked a little bit about week 4. Anything else that you would add to it?
There are lots of things that I would add to it, but I would say that week 4 is something to actually look forward to no differently than any other time we want to take on, that we really want to take a good look at ourselves. I will say this, week 4, another way that we can look at it is that our bodies are real multitaskers, our female bodies, because of reproduction. So this week 4, we could compare it to labor. If we were pregnant and going to be birthing a baby, week 4 is no different than being in labor. And so in other words, our bodies are preparing to purge the following week physically, right? So the week after this 4th week, the next week would be the period. Again, we're going to purge in the form of blood. So this week our bodies are preparing. They're breaking down and putting things into position, let's say, in order to purge. That's the same thing as being in labor. When we're in labor, the baby is moving into position. So we're very uncomfortable. Are we super happy and really kind during labor. Not necessarily. We're uncomfortable. I mean, we may be laughing some, but during those contractions, we're not laughing so much. It's really uncomfortable, right? But we don't call it a syndrome. You know, we call this fourth week PMS, premenstrual syndrome. There's no syndrome about this thing. Our bodies are breaking down in doing a really remarkable thing, and it's something that we can actually embrace and get into the vibe with. No different than when we're in labor. We start understanding that, wow, this is really intense. This is the most intense thing of our lives in many ways, but somehow we're able to also understand how remarkable it is, and sort of get into that track with it. But what happens is we have labor, and then the baby is born with this. What the parallel would be is that we have this pre-period time. It's intense. And then the blood happens. It's the same thing. Our bodies are multitasking with the same sort of track in a way. So if you can understand that it's not a syndrome, if we can understand that this is a remarkable time of survival and ceremony and really getting an opportunity to look at, we're having things handed right to us, what our issues are, and we can look at why. But I talk about this week a lot in the book, and there are just so many wonderful things that we can do to really bring out the gifts.
And when you when you think about this, tracking the cycle and really getting to know who we are as a rhythmic being and tuning into the womb, how do you think that the topic here is authenticity? And I mean, I can read between the lines, but I'd love to have you say how you see knowing your rhythm in such a intimate way really gets you to that place of authenticity. And then if you would talk a little bit about the importance of right community and how this helps to be able to attract right community.
Sure. Well, the greatest thing about this cycle of ours, because I call it a navigational system, really what it's teaching us to do is to shed what no longer serves us. And when we shed what no longer serves us, all of a sudden we begin to see our gifts. We begin to see what's really authentic for us, and we become less afraid. When we become less afraid, when we start seeing what's good for us, all of a sudden we just become braver. We just simply become braver. This is not a topic I would have ever talked about before. It's not what I thought that I'd be doing. I mean, I was a business owner. I've been an entrepreneur. I've done all kinds of stuff. This was something that was gifted to me, but I've always been a ceremonialist. I just didn't really talk about it. I've always gotten visions. I never talked about that. It's only because I thought everybody else did. But on the other hand, once I started realizing what was specific to me, at first it's not something I would have talked about because there's so much judgment around that. But as I tracked more and more, I realized that I had to. This is who I really was, and the more that I could tap into my authenticity, the healthier my life would be, the more abundance I would have, the more I would attract the things that were healthy for me, the more financial abundance I would attract to myself, simply because I'm just in alignment. When we're in alignment with universal rhythms, good things happen. That's just the way that it is. And so what happens is that our cycles definitely direct us when to shed what no longer serves us and to look at it. It asks us, I mean, if we go through the process, we're always asking ourselves questions, and we become a little braver, and we bring out who we really are, and that's our authentic self. In order to have a healthy community, in order to have a healthy planet, we must all bring our gifts to the planet. We all have gifts. We need to figure out what they are. And when we bring our own gifts to the table. It's like bringing our own little piece of the peace puzzle in, so that we are really manifesting a world that is joyous and healthy. I just think that our authenticity is so important, because otherwise we're separated from everything that's real. And when all of us are separated from everything that's real, when we're not connected to our natural rhythms, when we're not connected to who we really are, we just have chaos and violence, I think.
Yeah, and I think that earlier today I spoke about this topic, about how when, in order to have what we want, we have to know who we are. And to really ground that authenticity just creates a better planet. I mean, just creates a place where, our children get to have a more luscious, joyful place. I mean, when people are unhappy with the work that they do, then it creates more unhappiness in the world, right? But when people can tune into who they are, and I mean, I think that many people will be able to, I know, I mean, already I feel like I've shifted by being in these conversations with you and reading your book, and what feels really powerful, I mean, this is your legacy, but what feels really powerful is you actually living this truth, like living the miracles and the beauty of being authentic. I mean, I think if anybody is listening, you can really feel your energy and really feel how connected you are to this truth. And I mean, that's what this is about, is grounding this, right? And now you're providing this blueprint for people to be able to access that. And I know we have a few minutes, and I know that you have, there's a link to the page, and can you tell us a little about what you're offering people today and how they can access this information?
Yes, what I'm offering is actually a free ebook. This particular, what I can do easily on my website is give everyone a free PDF and of the book. And so once if they go to the link, and you've got the link, right?
Yeah,
and
it's all there.
Okay, so they go to the link, they get the free PDF. If you want to be able to have it so that it fits into your e-reader, you can go through my shopping cart to do that, and I give you a code that you must put in order to get it for free. And
okay.
then the other thing too is if you'd also like to have the printed book, I give that at a great discount, because I do have to say that the ebook is just simply doesn't do it quite as much as actually having the printed book in your hand.
Oh my gosh, I so agree with that. I mean, that book is so beautiful. And when I looked at the price, and I was like, how is she even affording to sell it at that price? I mean, it's color, it's beautiful, there's artwork. I mean, it's beautiful. So I agree. I would definitely agree that I'm sure the PDF at least give people the information. Those who are feeling like they can't, they can't invest in that now, at least they would have the information. But it's well worth the investment. It's gorgeous, and I seriously, kudos to you. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous book.
I'm super excited about the artists that agreed to be in here. We have almost 60 images in here that are incredibly beautiful. Some were made specifically for the book, and others you may have seen some of these images before. But the artists are just, phenomenal artists, and I just had to have a beautiful book myself. But the book is also set up so that it's color-coded, so that you can jump from one phase to the next very easily. So that's the idea behind it. And I just want the information out there, and I'm doing what I can to get it out there, and also be able to pay my part of my, what it costs me to make these books. And I'm just trusting that it's all going to work out. I want people to have the information. So the time is just here.
Yeah.
And I'm so thrilled to be part of this summit, Asha. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honored. I can't even believe that you're giving people the book for free. I so appreciate that, and it speaks volumes to your commitment to this work and your like deep desire to have us all understand our womb system. As I, I'm all about the womb these days. Like how do we connect and ground this, this soul into our lives, and this beautiful blueprint. I mean, beautiful blueprint that you are offering people is well worth. And as people know, these videos are going to be up for 1 week, so they have a week to get that that free ebook, and I'm so excited. I really thank you for doing that. That is remarkable and wonderful, and I thank you for being a part of this. And anything else that you want to say in closing?
I guess I would just say that right now women, particularly the women that are the blood givers, I would say, are overworked and overstressed right now, and I think it's just really important that we support women in every way we can, whether they're a pre-blood, a blood giver, or a blood keeper. But I would say that primarily this middle group is in need of such support that I think this information is timely, it's important, and I really look forward to all of us coming together. And there's a lot of people doing this work on the planet right now, bringing this same message forward in kind of different ways. So check them all out, because everyone, again, this is my piece to it all, but there are other people out there with their version of it as well. And I think that all of it's valid and important. So let's get us all in alignment. And when we are able to teach our alignment, the men also start understanding how they fall into alignment as well with their own natural rhythms and with us. So all of that is just super important for creating a joyous and loving world. We all want safety and security. Yeah. So I think that if we can really create that by really aligning with our natural rhythms and with each other, that we've got a real chance here.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much, and it's quite an honor to be in your presence and in your authenticity and the kind of communities that you're building. I know that some people are using your book as a way to gather, right, and begin to talk about what's up for them with it, because I think that's the power of us gathering as women. I know that there's a lot of people who do red tents and this kind of thing and women's gatherings, and I think some people feel like, well, sometimes it goes in a direction that's not so positive, but when we tap into a powerful intention, which is to know ourselves and to really tap into our own authentic cycle, I think this is for people who are doing red tent events and red tent gatherings, this is a great intentional offering to bring to the conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I will be, this year I'm just revamping my website again. There will be more courses. There will be more chances to track together and all of that. Just stay tuned. If people sign up on my website, they'll get more information about that. There'll be a lot happening this year.
Okay, awesome. I'm looking forward to continuing to grow our relationship, actually. I think that we have so many synergies, too, in our work. So I look forward to that.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
All right. And for those of you who are still hanging for a few more minutes, I just wanted to let you know that the next video that we're having will be tomorrow at noon. Do I have that right? Yep, tomorrow at noon with Andrea Hyland, and she's going to talk about, she's the woman that I mentioned that she's the creator of Heal Your Voice, and she's quite a powerhouse. She's going to talk about healthy community versus toxic and how to create a safe space. And then also, I think part of her beauty is how she has activated her own voice, and she'll be able to talk to us about that. And again, I want to remind you, these videos are going to be up, each of them, for 1 week. So take advantage of Suzanne's book. It is, if you go to the link where you're watching this, the video, you should be able to see a link that says, yes, I want to claim my spot in reclaiming the power of my female hormonal rhythm. That's a tongue twister, but it's basically to be able to access the PDF of her book. Just follow that link, and that's an incredible gift. When I first started this, I certainly was not expecting her to be so generous, and take advantage of that. The more that we teach ourselves and teach our children, and even even the women who are the blood keepers, as she calls them, we have not really honored these women in their place in society, and this gives us an opportunity to look at what the wisdom that they hold through all the cycles that they've gone through, and authenticity and community around the rawness and truth of who we are. I don't think it gets any better than that. So I highly recommend that you get that. And honestly, I highly recommend that you get the actual printed book. I'm telling you, I was floored at how beautiful it is. Just really remarkable, beautiful work. I remember when she was writing the book, and to have it see the printed version and the beauty and the ease of which how you can use it is really something. So thank you for being here, and I will chat with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. All right, bye.